Oh, I have them. I've updated them. Thanks.
I was going to do that.
Oh, wonderful. Please. Yes, be my guest. It's great to have an MC.
Sure. We're still waiting on one speaker, but we can go ahead and get started. Okay. Good morning, everyone, and thank you all so much for being here today for this bill signing ceremony for Ezechiel's Law, Bill 5120. We're joined today by Council President Hucker and County Executive Mark Elrich. We're here also joined by, and we'll hear from Alvin Numezi and the Numezi family, City of Tacoma Park Councilmember Jarrett Smith, Ashanti Martinez with CASA, Matt Losak with the Montgomery County Renters Alliance, and AJ Campbell, Tacoma Park activist and JCRC board member. We're also joined by Sophia Bouchen with the Silver Spring Citizens Advisory Board, and Mr. Garrow, lawyer for the family. Let me first introduce Council President Hucker.
Thank you so much, Genevieve. Better? Thank you so much, Genevieve. Thank you, everybody, for coming today to this very important event, and thank you for waiting. I want to start by thanking my colleagues at the County Council for unanimously passing this critical bill. In particular, the members of the Fed Committee, Councilmember Reamer, Councilmember Friedson, Councilmember Juando. They all worked for several work sessions on this bill. They introduced a number of amendments, and they produced a better law than the bill I introduced. Thanks to their support, the Council was able to unanimously approve legislation that we know will save the lives of Montgomery County children. I also want to thank County Executive Mark Elrich, DHCA, and DPS for working with me on this bill, and especially Fire Chief Scott Goldstein, who provided very helpful feedback as well. And I need to give a special thanks to Ashanti Martinez and CASA, to Matt Losak and the Renters Alliance, to Tacoma Park Council Member Jarrett Smith, Tacoma Park Mayor Kate Stewart, who couldn't be with us this morning but has been very helpful as well, and Tacoma Park activist AJ Campbell. Thank you so much for your advocacy for this bill as well, and for all your help pushing this bill forward. I also need to thank Rachel Weintraub from the Consumer Federation of America, from Children's National Health Center, Lucas Allen and Katie Matlin at the American Academy of Pediatrics for their policy advice. And thanks to Nicola Whiteman and AOBA for working with us to address their initial concerns about the bill and to allow it to move forward. We all have a responsibility to keep our children safe, and we worked as a team to get that done. Finally, I want to thank Julio Murillo and Dave Kuhns on my staff and Genevieve Kurtz for their work pulling together this coalition, and Christine Wellens, our legislative counsel, for drafting a great bill and working through many amendments. I'm honored to say that the bill that we are going to sign today, a bill that will create safe home environments for thousands of children in Montgomery County, will be known as Ezechiel's Law. We are happy and honored to have with us today Alvin Numezi, the mother of Ezechiel, and her family as well. Last October, Alvin and her family suffered an indescribable loss, the painful loss of their beloved 2-year-old son Ezechiel. They've experienced a trauma that no parent should ever have to go through. At the time, the Numezi family, like many families in our area, have been suffering through considerable economic hardship during the recession. And the tragic loss of Ezechiel resonated with residents and families throughout the community, and they pulled together to raise nearly $40,000 for the family, spearheaded by Matt Losak and the Renters Alliance and CASA as well. But this was not an isolated incident. Tragically, we've seen several incidents of children suffering serious injuries from window falls in the county in just the last several years, including an incident last May in Gaithersburg and another in 2019 in Tacoma Park. We have a lot of aging multifamily properties and a lot of windows that present a hazard to young children. Window falls present a widespread hazard that needed to be addressed, and this is not unique to our county. Each year in the United States, 15 to 20 children under the age of 11 die, and nearly 15,000 are injured because of falls from windows. And the number of pediatric window falls treated at Children's National Hospital has doubled since the onset of the pandemic, presumably because schools and child care facilities have been closed for so long, and more people have been spending time in their homes. No parent should have to suffer any loss like Alvine and her family have lived through. These injuries and deaths are easily preventable. The county and our landlords have a fundamental responsibility to ensure our housing code makes children's safety a priority, and this bill will do just that. Ezechiel's Law requires the landlord to install a window guard in any rental unit with a child 10 years of age or younger, if a tenant requests it in writing. Tenants in apartments, condos, and other multifamily properties will be notified about this right during the lease signing, the lease renewal, the notification of a rent increase, and require follow-up action in certain circumstances as well, so we can get the word out to tenants about their rights. Frequent caregivers, such as grandparents and neighbors who may be caring for a child, can request a window guard as well. DHCA is tasked with doing outreach and education about Ezechiel's Law to tenants and landlords. They've done a great job of educating our tenants about many of the rights that the county executive and I helped pass with his great bill several years ago, and this continues to build on the work we've been doing for years to protect our tenants and to keep them safe. My hope is that Ezechiel's Law will serve as a model to other counties and states and regions to follow as a smart and simple and inexpensive way to create safe home environments for our children. To Alvine and her family, thank you for joining us. I'm extremely sorry for your loss. None of us can imagine the pain that you've experienced, and I'm so happy that you could be with us. I hope it provides a tiny bit of comfort and resolution, knowing that thanks to Ezechiel's Law, no parent in Montgomery County should ever have to worry about a child falling from a window again. We're all here to honor Ezechiel, not only by naming this bill after him, but by ensuring a safe home environment for thousands of Montgomery County children across the county moving forward. Let me turn it over to County Executive Mark Elridge.
So I want to thank Tom for introducing this legislation and getting it through the council. That is really important. This is important. It could have been done a long time ago, and I actually hope that we can get the state to take this up in legislative session and make this actually a state law. And I want to extend my condolences and also gratitude for the family for coming here today, because it's important to put a face on things. And I really appreciate you standing up and being part of this with us. As Tom said, far too many lives are lost in falls from windows. It's a real thing. It's not something that only happened once. It's happened multiple times. Somebody was telling me earlier, was it 30-something cases in the DMV? So this is an ongoing problem. It's all too easy to do. As a homeowner, I realized when I modified a house that certain windows actually aren't allowed to open farther than a certain distance in order to prevent children from being able to easily crawl up to them and fall out. So for doing that in the building code for homes, for owned residences, that ought to be a part of what we're sure we're doing with other housing in the county. This was a tragedy and it's heartbreaking, but it's also avoidable. This is one of those things that didn't have to happen. There was no reason why this had to happen, and but for the lack of window guards, it wouldn't have happened. And so it's when you know things are preventable, you have an obligation to do something about it. And we knew this is preventable. This legislation addresses it. I'm glad the council saw fit to pass this unanimously. For me, this is like a no-brainer. I've been fighting for tenants' rights for decades, going back to when I moved to Comer Park in the 80s. So this fight for safe and affordable housing is something I've been engaged in for a very long time, and I'm very happy to see this change come about in Montgomery County. So again, I want to thank Tom for all his work on this, thank the family, thank all the advocates, and I look forward to the implementation in this speedy manner.
Thank you so much. Our next speaker is Alvine Numezi.
She has a statement from her sister.
And a statement from her sister.
Good morning, and thank you all for giving us the opportunity to name Ezekiel, to give a law after the death of Ezekiel. I'll be reading on behalf of my sister because she's a little bit nervous. I know it has not been easy for her to face the public after the loss of the child, but we thank God because each and every day she gets stronger and stronger. Hello, my name is Alvin Gemezi. My son's name is Ezekiel Gemezi. Ezekiel will have been 3 years old this past Saturday, June 5th. It's been less than a year since we lost him. I want to thank Council President Tom Hacker, County Executive Mark Enrich, and the entire Montgomery County City Council for naming this important new law after my son Ezekiel. My family consider the naming of the bill after Ezekiel an honor and future legacy to his short but memorable life. As many of you know, Ezekiel was my only child. He was my baby, that also my companion. I miss him very much. I guess that every mother thinks her child is special. But Ezekiel truly was special. He smiled. He loved the love he gave me, his grandmother, and other members of our family was truly special. He was smart, full of energy, and always into things. As you can imagine, this past month have been very difficult for me and my family. We have high hopes for Ezekiel. He had a brighter future ahead of him. I think of him every day and wonder why this happened. I don't want to see another parent go through what I have gone through since October 11, 2020. That is why I am so pleased that the council passed Ezekiel's law. Most children are energetic and constantly into things around the house. As I said, Ezekiel was no exception. He was small, but extremely active and very smart. He will figure out things quickly and be a step ahead of you, even when being watched. On the day this happened, I was only steps away from him, yet he figured out a way quickly to get up into the window. That is why Ezekiel's law requires window guard in multi-family housing units in the county is so important. The cost of the window guard is very small compared to what happened if a child climbed up to a window ledge. I have learned that this small tragedy has happened to our families in the past years. This is why I not only want to see other countries adopt these bills, I want to see Ezekiel's law become a Maryland statewide law. My lawyer, Mr. George Garrett, and I are going to work on making this a reality and ask for your help to make this possible. Thank you again for this honor. I also thank you for making the county a safer place to live for you, for young, happy children like Ezekiel. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Our next speaker will be City of Tacoma Park Council Member Jarrett Smith.
I want to thank y'all for being here today. It's bittersweet that we're here because of this occasion. You know, when I heard about us losing Ezekiel in Tacoma Park, I tried to work with my colleagues in Tacoma Park Council to try to prevent this, come up with some type of policy that we would make sure that this tragedy would not happen again. We were unable to come up with something, so I worked with some activists, A.J. Campbell, and others in the community. And we went to Council President Tom Hucker. And Council President Tom Hucker was very willing and understood the importance of having window guards in Montgomery County and how this would prevent future tragedies. You know, as an elected official, you consider policies each and every day, but there are only a few times where you can actually do something that will prevent a tragedy, a death, and that's what we did with this window guard bill. So I want to thank the family for being here. I really appreciate it. I understand the tragedy. You know, when I heard about it, I just thought, how can we do something to make sure that this does not happen again? I call upon the Maryland General Assembly when they are back in session next year so that we can pass a statewide bill, because this is something that every Marylander should have as a protection for their young children living in multifamily buildings. And finally, I want to thank the County Council. Thank you very much for supporting this legislation and making sure that it came out unanimously so that this family and many other families in Montgomery County are protected and their children will see another day. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Council Member. Our next speaker will be Ashanti Martinez with CASA.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Ashanti Martinez on behalf of CASA. CASA is the region's largest community organization serving the immigrant community and working class communities. With a growing membership of over 115,000, over 20,000 of whom live right here in Montgomery County. At CASA, our mission is to create a more just society by building power and improving the quality of life in working class and immigrant communities. We want to thank Council President Hucker for his leadership, as well as his colleagues' leadership in championing greater protections for tenants here in Montgomery County. To put it plain and simple, the passage of Bill 5120, Ezechiel's Law, will save lives of countless children in multifamily dwellings. This common sense solution is now a reality because the Council President brought together a diverse group of stakeholders. He listened, he learned, and then took action. We thank the Council for including CASA at every step of this legislative process. And we look forward to continuing our work with the Council to improve the lives of working class and immigrant communities here in Montgomery County as we rebuild from the COVID-19 pandemic. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have Matt Losak, Executive Director of the Montgomery County Renters Alliance.
Thank you, everybody. It is a hot summer day. Good morning. Thank you, County Council President Tom Hucker, County Executive Mark Elrich, the Ngwemezi family, allies, and friends. And I would like to point out my board member, Sophia Bouchen, who is also in the leadership of the Silver Spring Citizens Advisory Board, is here with us today. My name is Matt Losak. I'm the co-founder and executive director of the Montgomery County Renters Alliance. We are the first and only regional nonprofit dedicated exclusively to advancing renters' rights in our region. Today we celebrate the all too short life of Ezechiel Ngwemezi with his family by dedicating the simple and much needed legislation to require window guards in apartment communities to prevent Ezechiel's tragedy from repeating itself. I remember visiting the Ngwemezi family soon after Ezechiel's fall. I remember the helpless flowers placed in sadness and the immeasurable grief of his mother and family. The Renters Alliance was able to raise almost $40,000 in donations from throughout the community to help the Ngwemezi family through their sorrow and to start a new beginning. But we know no sum of money will ever be enough to replace a child. We thank the Council President Hucker especially for this long overdue legislation and County Executive Elrich for signing it into law today. Let me close by saying there is much more to do to protect renters from tragedy, abuse, low-quality housing, and the eviction crisis we now face. The work of the Renters Alliance in collaboration with the county, our allied partners, and nearly 40% of Montgomery County, and for that matter, the state of Maryland, who are renting their homes now, our work continues. So thank you very much, and thank you to the Ngwemezi family.
And our final speaker is A.J. Campbell, Tacoma Park community activist and JCRC board member.
My name is A.J. Campbell, and my daughter is alive today because we lived in Brooklyn, and we had window guards. Before coming to Tacoma Park in 2007, we lived in Brooklyn, where window guards are required in rental units. When my child first started walking, I called the landlord, and he came over and installed the window guards. It took about 15 minutes. And it was a short time afterwards that my little toddler Dynamo pulled herself up onto a chair and touched the window guard. If it wasn't there, she could have fallen out. These are removable metal safety bars that install inside of windows. It's simple. It's as easy to install as an air conditioner or a window fan. And due to the pandemic, more children are inside than usual, and toddler falls were up this last year in the metro area to 33 from 18 the year before. Tacoma Park, where I live, has had its share of toddler falls, obviously Ezekiel. And before that, in September, a child fell out of an 11th floor window. You might remember the story being called the Miracle Child. On a community call right after Ezekiel's tragic fall, I heard the developer speak, and he happened to be the developer of my own building. And I contacted him about installing window guards. And he was very polite, but he said, not unless the housing department weighed in first. If this was not the moment to act, there was never going to be one. Shortly afterwards, I approached Councilmember Jarrett Smith about adopting some legislation in Tacoma Park, maybe a bulk buy discount program. New York did that in the 1970s. They did a bulk buy window program, and it was very successful. The city purchased and gave away around 16,000 window guards at the time. Then I approached Montgomery County Councilmember Tom Hucker, and he was very quick to act, and I applaud him for understanding the gravity of the situation and moving quickly. We brought together a diverse group of doctors and activists and really made this a community effort. We know how to make things safer for children. We require smoke detectors and carbon monoxide detectors and safety car seats, and we make kids wear helmets for safety. It's impossible to think that we couldn't make window guards available to kids in multifamily units. I can't make any any landlord install window guards, but this law, Ezechiel's Law, will. Thank you.
That concludes our speakers for today, and without further ado, if the county executive would like to officially sign the bill.
This is your apartment. So you filed for health inspection? You're going to stage this? How do you stage that?